Good morning and welcome to The Verdict on this Sunday morning after one of the greatest race days we have seen in Australian racing. At Caulfield, it was the Group 1 William Reid where the fairy tale continued for Jigsaw, Cindy Alderson and also Logan Bates. We saw Treasure of the Moment bounce back and maybe we saw a young stayer of the future, but the action and the stories were in Sydney. That is where James McDonald created history, becoming the most successful Group 1 winning jockey in Australasian racing. He usurped our very own Damien Oliver with 3 Group 1s yesterday, and there were some amazing victories. Autumn Boyd taking out the Rosehill Guineas, Aliana winning another Group 1, and then we saw Simply Sublime, where Autumn Glow continued her unbeaten run, making it 11 from 11. And that's not even mentioning the Golden Slipper, where the Vicks finally won the Slipper again. Well done to Mick Price and Michael Kent Jr. Mick Price will join us on the program this morning, along with Mick Sharkey, who is here. How are you, Sharknado? What a great day it was.
I'm very well, Michael. Yeah, it was a fantastic day. What a perfect day to be at Caulfield too. And yeah, you mentioned a couple of great fairy tale results. History written in Sydney. Bit of wet weather, but it didn't dampen the quality of the racing. It was brilliant, Ollie.
Yeah, it was. Brilliant days racing both states, and it was everywhere you turned, there was some great action in both states.
Was it a day of inevitability for you? It's been counting down for a long time. J-Mac said he's relieved it's over. You probably feel the same because he was chasing you down for a while and he finally overcame you yesterday.
It was probably a lot less stress for me. He was trying to break it, but you knew it was inevitable. Yes, he had some great rides, but he really delivered. He rode them perfectly yesterday.
You shared a few messages last night with him. What was the tone of the messages?
Yeah, it was good. He was really complimentary, and you mentioned how, he actually thanked me for setting the standard for those guys to chase, and it made me reflect a little bit. I mean, records are to be broken, but, it's the guys that come before you that you're chasing down and, you're looking up to and following them and learning so much from them as well. So, it's nice that, I learnt so much from the guys that came before me and he reflected that as he's come up to me and then gone past me too.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about J-Mac in the second segment. We'll go through the history, but you overcame George Moore. I think he held the record for roughly about 40-odd years. You only had it for 4, Ollie. You're a little bit ripped off there, but it's incredible what he's been able to do so quickly, isn't it?
Yes, we'll see some footage coming up when he rode his first Group 1 winner at 16, how young and baby-faced he looked, and, it's quite incredible that he's done it at the age of 34. Mind you, he's had some good stock there at Cress Wallers, but, you've still got to be doing the right things to get in those positions and get on those sort of horses. But I think there's a lot more to come from what we've seen there yesterday.
Yeah, I think there is, no doubt. We'll talk about J-Mac. We'll have a look at the Golden Slipper, but first of all, let's start at Caulfield. The Group 1 William Reid. Jigsaw, wowee, what a story this has been, making it 6 wins in a row and a first Australian Group 1 for Cindy Alderson and also Logan Bates. A lot of the discussion centred around Jimmy Starr. Barrier 1, Ollie, on the inside. People thought, is this going to be to his detriment in the end? That's exactly how it proved, but I don't think anyone thought the Caulfield track would play the way it did yesterday.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's probably the 3rd week in a row we've had somewhat of a track bias. Flemington was a bit leaderish and they've been getting off the rail the last 2 meetings at Caulfield. Barrier 1, it's probably, you were wondering, well, it's going to open up for him. He may be able to get out. He's not going to be locked up on the fence, but, when you're fresh first up like that and you see daylight a little bit early, it's not always ideal. There didn't appear to be any excuses from him there, but he didn't run up to his best, obviously.
No, he was miles off his best, and it's quite an odd run from the horse, considering how well he's been going at the jump outs and how well the stable has been saying he's been working in his gallops. Putting the inside part of the track and being in the worst ground aside, that was lengths off what Jimmy Starr can do. He is grossly underperformed here, forgetting the track. He's a much better horse than that. We didn't see it.
I had a chat to Jack Turnbull this morning. He said he's pulled up with 2 really big black eyes. Okay. A couple of clods of turf. Ollie, you would know better than us. How much does that impact a horse during run and can maybe mean that they perform below par? He said other than that, physically he's pulled up well and they will press onto the TJ.
It's not ideal. You saw Tropicus, who's the last start Oakley Plate winner too, with 58 odd kilos. He was disappointing on the inside part of the track there too. I'm sure they would have loved to have preferred to drawn out and be the one coming at them from wider out in those circumstances there yesterday.
Let's not take anything away from the winner though, because Jigsaw was He was sublime once again. And the man who has partnered him with so much success is Logan Bates, who joins us on The Verdict this morning. Logan, congratulations, mate. Another Group 1, your first Group 1 here in Australia as well. And it would have been a really special day for you yesterday and the whole team, including your father, who was the connection with Cindy Alderson as well. How do you feel this morning?
Yeah, I still feel pretty good. Hasn't probably really sunk in. Sort of the fact that it actually did shock me yesterday, just because it probably took me back to the fact of thinking about his whole preparation, what he's done and what he's achieved, and to share that sort of journey with Cindy, Marcus as owner, and the whole Alderson team and sort of my family around me. Yeah, it's very special.
Logan, talk to us about this horse. Cindy spoke to us last week and about the connection that you've developed with Jigsaw, and she said you just get him. He probably gets you as well. You've had 7 rides on him now for 6 wins. Tell us about building a relationship with a horse, and an older horse too, like Jigsaw, who might have mentally taken a little bit of time to mature. What have you done to get to know him?
Just let him be a horse and just let him be happy. He's fast, and I'm not going to take that away from him. Probably the beauty of it is I've known him since he was a yearling, and I do remember trotting around the ring on him when he had a pair of rings on. He's trying to bury his head between his legs as a little young buck, and watching him grow and develop, and he had that long sort of layoff and just took it real smoothly. And I remember at the start of the prep I galloped him, and I sort of said to Cindy, I don't really want to say it, but he gives me a feel that he's sort of back to somewhere near his best. And his run at Caulfield was super, and he just continued to get better and better. And I think just with good experiences, this preparation, he's got much more relaxed as it has gone on, and got himself to a point where he can compete at the elite level, because he's got those sort of traits now where he can switch off and save a lot more fuel than what he was doing in the past when he was quite hard going. And it's funny, I just let him do his thing, and he seems to be happy with it, and I just go with him.
So with that, the aspect of overdoing it in races and probably burning a bit too much speed, do you think that's just been a case of the penny dropping for him, or has there been specific things that you've tried to work with on the horse away from the racetrack in training?
I mean, haven't really worked on anything. As I said, he's a confidence horse, and he's probably more mental. The ability's always been there, and it was just about getting the horse happy and working with him and finding out how he ticks and what he likes and what he doesn't like. And fortunately enough, he's sort of come around, and now he's very, very sort of straightforward and easy. And you see him at the races, he just goes to sleep behind the gates, walks around the yard like no one's business. And he was quite hot in the barriers. He's real reactive as a young horse, whereas now he's just calm. And yesterday I asked him to really jump, and he flew out, and it made my job very easy. So sort of hard to pinpoint. We haven't really done anything with him, but he's just a straightforward horse. So you keep him happy, he'll go to the wall for you.
Congratulations, Logan. Is the success on this horse parlaying into other opportunities for you in outside stables? I remember when I was a young apprentice and riding some great horses like Mannerism and Scalacci, that really helped me get other opportunities in other stables as well. So you're finding that's happening for you?
Yeah, definitely. It sort of started from New Zealand and all that, and it was good to bring this horse back from New Zealand, see what he done last week, and then for him to back up and run the same time in 7 days yesterday was super. And it's probably a bit early to say if it's really done much, but I'm sure to give things a good kick, and if I keep my head down and just keep working, I'm sure those opportunities will arise as time goes on.
What's it done for you personally, though, for your confidence to get this partnership, be given the responsibility and the opportunity as an apprentice in Group 1s and deliver?
It's done a lot for me. I think it's just that confidence, competing at the elite level, understanding all those feelings that you get and dealing with them. It probably puts me in good stead as my career goes on, because when I get to sort of those moments again, I know how to handle them. So, it'll be good going forward.
Were you confident throughout the run? Because, as you said, he jumped brilliantly. You had to do all the bullocking work out from the front. Did you think halfway up the straight you were going to hang on?
At the top of the straight, he gave it an unreal feel, and then he was probably starting to empty out at the furlong, and that's where he's grounded himself as well. As he just went to the wall and really pulled out whatever was left in him and held him at bay. And here's the one thing with him: when he is in front, he's pretty hard to get past. And he wasn't much left, but he gave it his all. And it's probably a mixed emotions because I actually went and do a little bit of a salute, and because I was so far out, I got a little bit lost in myself. And then Angel Capital flashed and scared me. So
we can see that.
yeah. And actually watching the replay, I thought it got away with it without it, but it's a funny story, so I thought I'd voice it anyway. But it was a bit of mixed emotions. But when the drone cam was above me, it was a bit of a sense of relief.
Very good. Well, that's a good one for the wall and the story as well. And the good news is the partnership's not over. The way he's racing, there's plenty more left with Jigsaw, mate. So enjoy the ride.
Very good. Thank you.
Logan Bates joining us there. Great jockey, young jockey who takes the opportunity. You knew what it was like, Ollie, when you're a young apprentice given these big chances in Group 1s. There is a lot of pressure and you've got to deliver.
Yeah, well, he's really clicked with this horse and he raced him so well in front. I mean, sometimes it's easy to ride in front, but other times, not every jockey can do it. You just got to find that nice, happy medium where you're not going too fast, not too slow. But Logan and Jigsaw have really clicked to just find that perfect tempo. So, they've created a great success. Partnership together, yeah.
Angel Capital, unlucky again, but he's making a habit of being unlucky in these big Group 1s, isn't he?
He's got to put one away. He really does. Now, whether that's in South Australia or in a Goodwood, I'm not sure if that's the most commercial stallion-making race in the world, but it might just get him back on that right foot to have a look at races in Queensland. That could be an option. I thought all three Yulong-owned horses ran well. Devil Knight, I gave him absolutely none.
He was back, yeah.
And he's run out of his skin. And Magic Time, Ollie, from a Brisbane campaign point of view, perhaps, with a bit more give in the ground. We know she loves soft tracks. It was a good return from her.
Was. And Barrack Hill, very consistent once again. He put in a good race as well. Yeah.
Disappointing the track on a Group 1 day. Sam Bennett and his team do a really good job at Caulfield, so I feel for them. But we expected with the rail out last week at 9, coming back to the inside, it would have been a pretty fair track, and it was clearly a no-go zone on the inside. I think this could also be a little bit of what we get when we've got a major metropolitan racetrack that's out of action. I mean, this was a valley meeting, so a lot of racing on these tracks, and in the end, we're not getting the standard that we really deserve on a Group 1 day. Yeah,
well, if you're going to have a bias, you'd rather it, fence off rather than fence gold, but we might have to look at perhaps some more races at Sandown, particularly on Hillside, which is the better of the two tracks there, to try and spread the load a little bit. But you could see that inside 4 or 5 metre was definitely a bit more lusher than the rest of the track.
I wonder if last week's meeting would have been better served at trying it at the Caulfield Heath if they wanted to keep it at Caulfield rather than Sandown.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that does for turnover, but yeah, it's a tough task for the track managers when you've got so much racing happening at one place.
Yeah, and tough task for the pundits trying to sort it out as well. We need to take a break. On the other side of this, the Victorians reign supreme in Sydney. A golden slipper win. Mick Price will join us after this. Outstanding. That is Michael Kent Jr. at Rosehill with Ben Elam, who is the Sydney foreman, just giving each other a bit of man love in the mounting yard. And why not, after watching their big boy Guest House win the golden slipper? I wouldn't want to have got stuck in between those two boys then.
Covered a bit of ground there. It was almost like a bit of a tango, wasn't it? It's sort of reminiscent of, what's that sports bet out where Michael jumps on the back of the punter? Or was it kind of like that?
Strictly Ballroom.
What was the rose between their teeth? I love that.
I tell you, another person who was dancing last night, and that is Mick Price, who has well-deserved one of the majors for a long time, and he joins us on the verdict this morning. Mick, congratulations, mate. You've had a few close throws at the stumps in a Cox Plate and the Golden Slipper, and you finally landed it yesterday.
Thanks very much, boys. Yeah, no, it was good, wasn't it? He's good colt, and, we had to sort of just maintain a bit of confidence in him because he didn't have things go his way in the Blue Diamond or the Prelude. we had to sort of peak him for the Blue Diamond, and then, you got 4 weeks to the Slipper. So all you can do at the end of the day is read your horse. And, he went to Sydney and I was up there with him, and I just thought, his brain was pretty good. Very good rider on him, that Dan Byrne up there for that colt. We had a very good rider. Olivia East rode him every day down here, and he's a one-rider horse. He's a colt. I think those Home Affairs horses have a bit of Vinny in them, and that means they are just close to galloping. You don't want to be overdoing them, which is why I didn't trial that horse. He's 4 weeks between runs, and I just said to Zach Lloyd, just get down here at 5 o'clock in the morning, have a couple of goes on him, and that'll be him. So, it was a very ballsy ride by that kid. I think he's a little ballsy rider, that Zach, and he's good. Ben Elam was fantastic, and the whole the Sydney girls are good, and it's a good setup.
Mick, congratulations. You referenced that Sydney stable, and you did it again yesterday, and particularly Ben and his efforts. Tell us about the Sydney stable. It's been going for a little while now. It's been a very successful exercise for you and for Michael, and Ben's been a huge part of that. Give us a bit of a background with Ben and your team.
Ben walked into our place 17 years of age from Melbourne Grammar. So he was lovely, wasn't he, So now he lives in the middle of Western Sydney. How's that going for him?
So you've kicked the private boy out of him, a private schoolboy out of him, which is good.
Bang! He's good. I'll tell you what, he's toughed it out, that kid. He went overseas to Newmarket and worked over there for a couple of them. He worked for Lloyd Williams at Macedon Lodge for a couple. So he was with us early, and then he went and did his thing and learned a bit more, and then he's come back. And big responsibility, because, there's only one thing that matters in any sport, and that's results. And a couple of times I've had to have some pretty stiff conversations with him and gone up there and, do a little war dance there up and down the barn, and he's responded really well. And, I think he's got good talent. I don't know what makes a trainer. There's a few things, but one absolute is that ability to read your horse. And I think he's getting that, because you'll notice a little addition to that colt, like a rubber crossover noseband, which I don't like, those rubber crossover nosebands. I don't think there's enough give in them. But he got one to fit that horse. And, I like the leather ones where I can have a bit of give in them. And it was the right move at the right time. And it was Ben Elam's idea. Dan Byrne rode. They got it right every morning between the two of them in Sydney. And that horse has just become just a little bit better.
You're a great mentor, obviously, with Ben and Junior. But Zach Lloyd here, I want to talk about this gutsy ride, as you said. You said he's a ballsy rider. I feel a bit sorry for Zach. His first Group 1, major Group 1, and probably all the talk's about J-Mac rightly. It should be about this boy as well. How do you see his potential, and why did you pick him, Mick, to ride him?
It was a funny thing, I don't know all the riders in Sydney, and I was at the trials one day, and that Tyler Schiller come up, and I was talking to him. I said, "Oh, yeah, how you going, mate? What's your name?" And he said, "I'm Tyler Schiller." I said, "Are you any good?" This was only about 2 months ago. I said, "You any good?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I said, "Well, how much prize money you won this year?" He said, 12 million. I said, "All right, you go, okay." No, I don't watch all of the Sydney races. Ben Elam's across it more. He gets them to trial them. He gets them to ride work when they need to. He's got good relationships with the jockey managers and the good riders there. I reckon Dylan Gibbons and Zach Lloyd and Tyler Schiller, they're light, tough, aggressive, smart young riders in Sydney, and he was just one of them. I had my eye on him for a while. Even when he was first a kid, that Jeff Lloyd, texted me and got in contact, and I've sort of watched him from afar. But honestly, I didn't know much about him apart from I wanted a good, ballsy little Sydney rider on him, and he's done a good job, that kid. He's a good kid.
I love to see the Sons of Guns coming through the ranks, Ollie. Have you had a bit of a rap on Zach as well?
Yeah, earlier he had a bit of trouble getting suspended too often, but he seems to have curtailed that. And, you've got to measure that aggression with staying in the saddle too, obviously, because if you're pushing the boundaries too far, you can't get consistency riding all the time. He seems to have found that balance. Mick, I wanted to ask you a question. What's your record like in the slipper? I know you had Flying Artie in Extreme Choice, and have you learnt in your previous preparation with horses coming up to the slipper in regards to getting this horse to peak on this day?
The problem there is, one, the prize money. So you got to use enough of your horse to get the prize money, which I don't know. I'm guessing that the minimum's 80,000-90,000. So you got to use a bit of horse to get the prize money, to get a run in the race. And also, we've got the Blue Diamond on our doorstep. So we've won a couple of Blue Diamonds by having them peaking on the day, and then you've got to go to the slipper. So Extreme Choice was definitely on the way down in the slipper. Flying Artie was holding. They both had very good. Well, you rode Flying Artie. You got speared off the track and should have probably won. But, you use a fair bit of your 2-year-old, and your 2-year-olds don't have big petrol tanks on them at that time. So I think that's the biggest problem. If I was a Sydney trainer and I said, right, I'm going to get these 2-year-olds and set them for the slipper, I'd probably have a better record there. And it may be the case now we can do that with a Rosehill barn. It's a good, neat little barn. There's 18 boxes there. Rosehill's a fantastic place to train. There's only 7 horse trainers there, and there's only 400 horses there. It's a beautiful place to train. So it may change a bit that we can get a colt and be specific to the slipper. So it may not be the last one we win.
Hey, Mick, there's not much you need to improve on, but maybe your celebrations. We've seen Junior and Ben. Have a look at this vision of yourself and Shona. Shona was giving it a bit, but, gee, you were very mild-mannered here.
Mate, I'm not an over-celebrator.
What are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking, Shona, shut up, please.
She was hitting some octaves there.
No, that's mild for her.
Do you feel a little bit of relief, though? I mean, you've won so many Group 1s. You've proved yourself time and time again as a great trainer, but people rate you by the majors that you win, and now you finally got one.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that at all. And, if you're in your own time, I don't really rate myself because there's so much missing. If you win Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup, and Cox Plate and Slipper, you probably can say to yourself, you're not going too bad. So it's definitely a bit missing. I understand the 2-year-olds, I understand the colts in particular, and I hope it's not the last Slipper we win. And like I said, that Sydney stable might just help us a lot there, but it definitely... it's a fantastic feeling. It's like any sport. It's like grand final, isn't it? You win a grand final, it's quite a euphoric feeling. So what you see on the vision there, I know it's not me over-celebrating, but don't worry. I'm booming inside.
Mick, we've heard all along that Guesthouse is a big, strong 2-year-old and, perfect horse to set for these sort of races. But does he give you the feel that he'll train on as well, having that physicality about him, that he'll be able to carry through, and we've got a lot to look forward to come the spring as a 3-year-old?
Definitely. He's still a little bit open in the knees. He holds enough condition and enough body weight and enough muscle. I don't need him heavier than what he is at the moment.
This is him this morning.
That's him this morning, yeah. That's Kathleen with him, and he's got all the clay on him, the anti-inflammatory clay on him. That should be washed off, but never mind.
So has he done enough now, Mick, or is that campaign over? Because he looks like he'd eat up 1,400.
Yeah. I'm going to Miss City Monday and I have a look at him, and I'm not ruling out the sires because I don't have to ask that horse to improve. If you just feed him and work him and keep him for 2 weeks and do a little bit of work with him, I think he'll turn up in the sires and he'd probably be the one to beat. But have a look at him.
He's a good
beautiful
horse.
And he's a masculine horse. These Home Affairs horses, I see there's 17 in Sydney East in the book there. Obviously, we've bought a few because I've had a good feel on this colt for a fair while, and we actually have one on the website that's a beautiful chestnut colt there that's available. But I also got to thank Jeremy Rogers. Right, Jeremy Rogers is he's quiet. He's just gets around the sales. He's not a big noter, not a big talk. I talk to him and he just talks absolute sense about what he's looking at. And, they do their shortlist. I do my shortlist. They give me some horses to look at. If I don't like them, I don't buy them. Don't go halves. If I do like them, we'll say we'll go halves. So he was one of the ones where I like, Jeremy we go halves. So I've got to have say big thanks to Roll the Dice because they've got their systems in place, and Jeremy Rogers is a big part of that. So that colt, he's a good type because Jeremy likes good types, and he knows what moves and what should move on them. And I think if all being well, he might run in the size. Otherwise, he'd go to the paddock and get ready. And the ideal race will be the Coolmore, I'd say.
Any of the big studs sniffing around after that victory yesterday, Mick?
I got to talk to Tom Magny this morning. I've got to have a chat. I spoke to him last night. He said, look, they're very excited because those Irish guys, they live horses. They absolutely live horses. He said he rang his dad, and his dad was excited, and Tom was excited, and I think Tom copped a tune off his kids for yelling too much. He might have done a bit of over-celebrating, Him and Shona should get together, and those two boys. I got to talk to him about it, and we'll see what comes up.
Well, it's massive for Home Affairs. It's massive for Coolmore, isn't it, to get a golden slipper? Hey, Mick, you'll be still on cloud nine probably. Might have made Planet Red a little easier to digest yesterday. Not so much for the punters. What went wrong yesterday?
Look, it just didn't work. Mark's a great jockey, and I love using him, but he just, couldn't get in when he was trying to get in and then push deep. That horse never got on the right leg yesterday. We tried to put him in the race, and he was in the race early, and then mixed messages, had to drag him back and then go forward again. It was just a total forget run. The horse was going to the paddock, but it was just never got balanced and just no good yesterday.
Because he still came again at the end, which was the...
That's the thing. He got balanced and got on his right leg and decided to click up again. But it was just a crap race for us yesterday.
Well, mate, it mattered in the one that counted. Well done. Congratulations. Golden Slipper, Home Affairs. You did it for the Vicks. We haven't won a Golden Slipper since Crystal Lily, so it was good to break the drought and couldn't think of anyone better to do it. Well done, mate.
State of origin, mate. State of origin.
Good on you, Mick Price, joining us there. Can talk to Mick all day. I just love his matter-of-fact, common sense approach to most things in racing.
You usually know where you stand with it.
Just quickly before we move on, out of the slipper, horses of Camper d'Italia flew home, didn't it, out wide. Streisand, Clint McDonald's done a huge job with her. The Blue Diamond Form 1 and 2, I thought she was outstanding as well.
She was. I wonder how the chat was in the Mellum household with them going head and head in front last night in that race yesterday.
Yeah, closer to free, just applying a bit of pressure. And
he just overdid it a bit, didn't he?
Look, watching the replay again, I thought Streisand was going to run 58th about 5 times during the straight, but testament to her bravery and how professional she is. She just kept finding and just kept fighting, even when Guesthouse went past her. You can see Campione d'Italia coming out, just having to shoulder out and find some room before finishing off. You would expect Ollie Sires all over that horse.
Yeah, and Stretton Ruler was a nice run there too. Chad Schofield got a suspension out of this race yesterday. Yep. He caused some interference to the favourite Cheyenne and also the Godolphin horse Zimbalis as well. And
I think we've got to say a congrats to Graz Vella, the Canberra trainer who certainly loves to party and dance, who got music time. I thought he was going to win halfway up the straight to run third in the slippers. Huge.
Huge run, absolutely huge run. And there's some great smaller player stories through the slipper and roll the dice. Like those owners, they've just won horse lotto, really. They can get a good horse roll of dice. Absolutely, they can. Yeah. Well done to everyone involved. We spoke about Planet Red. I want to talk about Roulette King, who was the winner of that race at Caulfield. And I think Hong Kong would be circling Shaka. This is a great story for a battling trainer, as in small numbers, who's got a really good horse now. Yeah, absolutely. And just really, really well trained. I think Trevor Rogers said the whole time that this race was the grand final for the horse as he was progressing through lesser races and midweek races. This was the one they had a big circle around in the calendar. Look, he had an odds-on favourite in the race, or near enough to, in Planet Red, but the market was very strong on this horse as the emerging talent coming through a more left-field form line. Really strong finish. Savvy Sander at a big price, did kick really hard there. Roulette King was in for the fight, though. Terrific win. All right, we're getting yelled at. We're well behind, but there's been so much to talk about. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, we'll look at JMac, the 5 Group 1s in Sydney. We'll come back for the rest of Caulfield as well.
by a no.
We won the good place, baby!
James McDonald, history here at Charlton.
He's 16 years of age and he's just won his first Group 1.
James McDonald, at his 9th ride, has taken the Lexus Melbourne Cup.
Take the good with the bad, but today we're lucky enough to win a Melbourne Cup.
And he's now a Hong Kong Cup winner. Romantic warrior for James McDonald.
3 straight Cox plates. His 100th Group 1. Nature Strip provides Australia with another win in the King's Stand.
One of the most impressive wins you'll ever see in the Derby.
That is one of the best winning performances. James McDonald. James McDonald.
James McDonald,
James McDonald.
22nd Group 1.
the first jockey to win 4 in a row involving different horses.
10 wins over Cup Week. James McDonald, 130 Group 1 winners, and what a performance.
You are rewriting history.
What a race.
Gee, that's an awesome piece. It's pretty incredible when you put all of those amazing horses and wins together. 131 Group 1s. Let's have a look at how J-Mac did it, and then we'll speak to the man himself.
And Autumn Boy McDonald's just eyeing off the gap, looking for it now. Bingo leads at the 300 metres. Observer stoked up by Williams giving chase. And McDonald said, go on Autumn Boy. And Autumn Boy moved up at the 250. Put pay to Observer Bingo. Further back then to Green Spaces running on. But it's Autumn Boy clearing the Rose Hill Guineas. This is a win that'll live forever for James McDonald. 130 Group 1 winners. And what a performance. Green Spaces second. I think Observer third.
Yeah, captured beautifully by Darren Flindell, and it was an easy watch for the family, and that was the one that finally broke the record. It wasn't long for him to add another one to it, but it's great to have the greatest with us. We've got the current GOAT and the new GOAT, which is magnificent on the program this morning. Congratulations, J-Mac.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. It was obviously a wonderful day and, just special, obviously huge relief and I suppose it couldn't have come on a worse day with Autumn Glow running for 11:11, but it's it just added so much more to the day and it was pretty incredible.
Well done, James. Ollie here. Would have been pretty quiet 24 hours for you. Not many interviews, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, Ollie. Obviously it was, as you know, you've been in this situation so many times and you just really, I don't know, I was so fatigued last night. Whether it was just it's obviously been a bit of a big build up and it was pretty draining and I was cactus by about 9 o'clock last night, but yeah, it was lovely to receive so many well wishes and especially getting a text from you, Ollie, and it's obviously a special moment and something that we're proud of to be joining you at arguably the top of the tree, to be fair, and it's you've paved the way. It's special to share a jockey room with you, and learnt so much over the years. You're a pretty intimidating competitor, I must say, but, and very ruthless at that. But I feel very special to be obviously sharing a racetrack with you over the years, and it's. Like I say, it's extremely honour to be joining you, that's for sure.
No, well done, mate. You deserve it all. You must pinch yourself, some of these horses you're riding. I mean, I know when I was growing up and some of the great horses I got to ride, and you kind of think, you know, especially where you come from, all jockeys come from sort of nowhere to start with, but then when you start to get on these horses that you're starting to ride, you think, wow, how lucky am I? But then you've got to keep producing and you've got to keep turning up and showing that you deserve these rides, but you really are. You're riding so well at the moment. You must have been laughing there early on Autumn Boy when you just dropped into that position, beautifully nice and quiet early, relaxed, and you could see Observer pulling hard for the first half of the race there.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well, but yeah, to answer your question, it's the horses that obviously put you on a pedestal where you can take your riding to a new level and learn so much for them. And obviously Dundee will come along at a perfect time for us when we were trying to break into Australia. And like everyone knows, it only takes one to give you that confidence. And I keep stating that Animo, you were lucky enough to ride Animo as well. He was a special animal, and he was a horse that I reckon was so good for my career at that point of time, coming back off disqualification 2 years off, and he had a following that was bigger than I'd ever experienced before, and obviously a very valuable stallion at that. But to be able to ride a horse like him, and then it just rolled on to be a Sustainer and Voyage Bubble and then Romantic Warrior, and now probably the biggest of them all. I feel that she's gravitating in that way. It's a jockey's dream, and like you say, it's been blessed with the colour of a horse that's year after year that's happened to me, and I've left 2 out, and that's Very Elegant and Nature Strip, and they were 9-time Group 1 winners. So no, it's just remarkable, and very lucky, and to do it on such a nice colt like Autumn Boy was pretty cool as well. And it was basically like the monkey off the back, and everyone can basically move on now. And they're probably getting sick of hearing the name and bloody talking about it. But I'm sure you're over it too, Holly, to be fair. I'm feeling you in this situation.
James, I reckon we'll be hearing your name for a little bit longer yet. Congratulations on the milestone and the day yesterday. Look, we know the big names, the horses that you've ridden and the trainers you ride for, but talk to us about your support, away from the racetrack, Kate, and the kids, and what that means to you, and how they're able to help you achieve goals like this.
Oh, it's massive, Sharky. As everyone knows, it's a huge team effort, and there's so many fingerprints that were part of yesterday's achievements, I suppose. And to have the girls there was just, it's extremely touching, that's for sure. And Caitlin's she's been there, done it before. She knows what it takes, I suppose, and the sacrifices that we do throughout the year. She's so supportive of that. And then we've got Guesty, who does a marvellous job at conducting everything in a professional manner, which is so important for myself, and to be able to keep those relationships going, because as you know, it's probably more to being a jockey these days. I even feel since I've started riding, there's more to it than just riding a horse, to be fair. It's there's so much more behind the scenes, and you've got to conduct yourself pretty well, and you got to be on the ball all the time. And it's not just with race riding, it's obviously your body's basically a temple, and you've got to control it like that. Like you got to put the right stuff, you've got to train well, and you got to maintain it. And obviously I'm at 34, but Ollie did it for probably 3 decades or 4 decades, and at the extreme top level. And I remember one of his rides on Colette in Melbourne, like you just wouldn't see it a better ride, and that was happening in his twilight years. So it's pretty remarkable to think how far we've come in probably a short time, and it's been very enjoyable.
You've been so humble, J-Mac, and I think that speaks to you as the man and the personality that you are, and that's probably why you're as successful as you are as well. Now, is that Romantic Warrior behind you, that painting? Because I think you might need to get the artist to start painting one of Autumn Glow as well.
No. I'm very superstitious, and obviously with he holds pride and place at our household, because he's just a phenomenal animal. But Autumn Glow's got a little bit to go before she has her painting up on the wall. I've got one over there of Animo, but we wait till they retire before hanging any pictures on the wall.
Well, Chris must have got swept up in the moment yesterday, because he called her a champion. And Chris doesn't get carried away like that. It was a champion performance yesterday. What feeling does she give you about where she could end up?
Yeah, well, she's well on her way, but to be fair, Michael, it's actually sort of scary. I don't say that lightly either, in terms of like what she does at home. You would just shake your head at it, and you can't help but smile. And she walks off the track like a Clydesdale, I was watching her walk around the parade ring yesterday, and she almost tripped over her own feet, just because she's so relaxed and her demeanour's so good. But she is a jockey's dream. She's a bit like this fella behind me. You can put them anywhere. There's no riff-raff to them. They just know their job straight away, and they can go on any types of surfaces, any distances. I'm sure she's not going to have a problem with, and she's just so adaptable. So Yeah, like you obviously you think about the very elegance of the world and what she could have done if she had Autumn Glow's demeanour. It takes them a long way, and she's just an absolute pleasure to ride.
Hey, James, appreciate your time. I know it's been such a busy whirlwind week for you, and you're great with your media everywhere. We wish you and the family all the best, mate. Hopefully you get some downtime today and you'll be reloading for next week. 200, I think you said yesterday, is what the aim is. Is that right? Oh, he's gone. Isn't that the opportune time? He said, I've had enough. Yeah. We need to take a quick break as well. What a superstar he is. We'll come back and look at the other stars after this.
Now Aliana being stoked up, coming to the outside, and Sir Delius the widest into the straight, and Lindemann is giving a ton of cheek. 350 to go, Lindemann by 3. Now Aliana is starting to close in, and Sir Delius as well. It's Lindemann all out, and Aliana, this great mare, ranges up on the outside. 2 further back to Sir Delius has got the job. It's Aliana trying to beat off Lindemann. Aliana being lifted by McDonald, and he closes the first chapter on this historic day.
That was the first of 3 Group 1s for J-Mac yesterday. As Darren Flindell said, he lifted the $1.50 favourite home. Punters who took the short spot have been sweating half up the straight. That Lindemann, he sticks on in these big races, doesn't he?
He's brave, but he just always tends to find one better in the big ones. But Aliana looked to have the perfect run there, drawn to get the perfect run, which she did. So Delius was very, very good there. I think he'll be peaking in the Queen Elizabeth, so I think there's improvement to come from him. But the big question is, where will Autumn Glow go?
Where would you run her?
I'd love to see her take on the challenge of She's Alibi in the Doncaster, given 7.5 kilos. I mean, we don't often see the top ones take on the top ones these days. They tend to duck and weave a little bit. I'd love to see John Massara and Arrowfield take on the challenge.
Well, I texted John Massara this morning. He said, haven't made up their mind. And I said, which do you want to go to? And he said, it's a tough call, Doncaster or Queen Elizabeth. Where do you think they'll go?
Well, on pedigree, she shouldn't run 2,000 metres, but everything she does visually says she'll absolutely eat it. So you think, there's got to be a ceiling with a horse like this somewhere, but maybe there's not. Like,
it might be easy to win a Queen Elizabeth than a Doncaster.
Oh, it could be, yeah.
I don't know. All right, we'll wait and see. Let's have a look at the other Group 1, the Galaxy, and A+ for the handicapper in this race, Ollie. This was a great finish in the Galaxy. There was drama at the start. Zach Lloyd had a bit of a rollercoaster day, didn't he? Because he was on the favourite Graft Burners, which got scratched at the barrier, and Mahuna, gee, she loves Golden Slipper Day.
I can't believe she won. She looked like she was beaten 5 times up the straight there, but she stuck her head out on the line. Even old Marzu, he came again. Bridal Waltz was a great run, and Briasa was super off a wide run as well. So, but, you know, a great finish here. Probably only 2 lengths just covering most of the field here.
Handicapper's delight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, he did pretty well be happy with that, the handicapper. Briasa was huge after covering ground.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see. Jimmy Starr's going to go to the TJ as well. You'd think a few of these would be going to the TJ. Who's the number 1 sprinter right now?
Well, Jimmy's coming off a poor run, so, you know, it's, if he's at his best, yeah, he's going to be right there. But, yeah, I don't know. I want to see how he comes through and see the field in front of me probably first.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to Caulfield now, have a look at some of the other feature races on that day. We'll start with Get a Good Feeling. Gee, Danny O'Brien's, he's got the knack with these fillies. She was professional, Ollie, I think, yesterday. She did what she had to do.
Yeah, well, she was 1,200 up to a mile and gave them a bit of a start. She always sort of looked like the winner, but she didn't really put them away, but it was a nice tradesman-like win, but I think she can bounce off this run 3rd up. She was 2nd up their run yesterday.
Browns will be really happy with Just Kick. It was a nice return from it. And Classic Gem with a stable change to Don Sutton now.
Yeah.
You know, 2,000 metres, 2,400 are right up her alley. She's come back really well.
I wonder if they try to stretch it back out to 2,000 in Australasian Oaks, Get a Good Feeling over in South Australia.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they could go to Sydney, potentially, couldn't they, for that mares race? 2,000 might be the one they shoot for, though.
Let's have a look at Meridius. Ollie, I think you were pretty keen on the finish of this race. Me, not so, because I was on the runner-up. Ridden by Mark Zahra, who had a day to forget, Ollie, because he got suspended. He rode Meridius here, but I was on the runner-up. He got suspended for overuse of the whip. That's Meridius down the outside, 4 times over the allowed amount prior to the what is it, the 500. So he's got 7 days. And again, the old chestnut here. The winner breaks the whip rule. The runner-up doesn't. But the jockey gets suspended and fined.
Well, it wasn't a gross breach. It was only a couple over, you know. I mean, you think you can go to 7 without getting a penalty. So, you know, look, I don't think when it's a minor breach that should be in the question. But if it's a massive breach over and above, I think you got to look at it. But I think Verdot just probably drifted back into the inferior ground there, and that probably
he ran well.
That didn't help his chances yet.
Gee, it's tough for the top guns. We see, and we used to see Mark Zahra winning Group 1 races all the time, but he's had a wretched run since his injury, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just struggling for a bit of consistency at the moment, which he's, you know, getting regular riding under his belt with obviously his injury, then a couple of suspensions as well.
Let's have a look at Point Barrow. She was back in action yesterday. She was the favourite in the Oakley Plate. A few people had jumped off Sharky, but a good ride here. Cutting the corner, coming through, and she bounced back to her best.
Look, yeah, I wouldn't say this is Point Barrow at the dynamic peak that we saw during the spring, but the stable would be very, very happy to get the win on the board, given the problems she did have coming out of that Oakley Plate. A lot of vet work, farrier work went into getting her right. She's quite a cantankerous sort of filly too, based on post-race commentary from the stable. So moody sort of horse with a few physical things out of that last run. Terrific team effort from the stable to get the win on the board. And look, she probably bounces towards the Sangster now, you'd think.
Yeah, that'd be the ideal Group 1 target, Ollie, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that's where she'll head.
Yeah. Speaking of Group 1 mares, good to see Treasure the Moment back. I think this was canny placement for Maddie Laurie yesterday, just dropping her back a grade, Sharky, and she showed that she has still got it because a few had wanted to jump off.
I don't know about that. She's my favourite horse, this horse. I absolutely love her. You know, some horses just grab you for some reason, and she's not any flash odds when she goes around, but God,
$1.75 was a gift in this race.
It was, yeah. Just love watching Treasure the Moment, and this was brilliant, watching her open up a field of mares here and go and win really well. She'll go back to Group 1 racing now, and hopefully she can get another one. Filly is a horse I want to follow into 2,000 metres. I think she's ready, Ollie.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few out of that race sweating where Autumn Glow goes, whether she doesn't go to the Queen of the Turf in Sydney, because that's probably
a big field if
next likely target for a lot of those. But good to see her get a kill there back into mare's grade, and hopefully she can come off that.
How much do you subscribe to confidence builders for horses?
Yeah, some. You've got to give it some credence. I think just she'd been running hard out and just probably not quite winning.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if horses know if they win or lose, but it's obviously just easier competition for them when they're against their own sex and age, rather than taking on the males and the open class.
Well, it was a good moment for Maddie Laurie, who was able to get that monkey off the shoulder yesterday.
Look, I've been happy with her whole career. Her first up run was fantastic without winning. Obviously, this was a step down in grade to what she's been competing against, but yeah, lovely to sort of see her go about it in that fashion, and the lead in to her next start it looked ideal, looked like the right way to go.
Yep, well done to the team. Well done to Dan Stackhouse, who rode it very nicely indeed. Quick break. On the other side of this, we will come back with On Track, Off Track and wrap up a big edition of The Verdict. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday morning. This will make it even more enjoyable because we have an opportunity for you to become a racehorse owner for nothing with thanks to our great friends at My Racehorse. All you need to do is scan that QR code and you can join the Group 1 winning team behind the likes of Willie Dewitt, Apocalyptic and plenty of others who have won at the top level, and not just any horse, a half to the Group 1 winner Star Luck Creek. So jump on line C, the T's and C's, and Shark and I will announce the winner on the Verdict podcast tomorrow morning. BZ joining us as well, so plenty to talk about tomorrow, but make sure you join with My Racehorse. Boys, let's get on to our off track and on track. We'll start with off track, Ollie. What are you doing?
Some track biases. I'm just wondering, we've got to bring Sandown into the equation a little bit more, particularly Hillside, which races the best, with Moonee Valley out of the play, just to share the load a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. Sharky?
Leaving key moments, Michael, to go to mounting yards in other jurisdictions. Like, I know we've got to get to other races, but surely James McDonald, you know, breaking records, equaling records, you've got to hang with that a little bit longer. And don't worry, it's not just a New South Wales thing. Victoria does it as well. Drives me mad.
Yeah, live in the moment. Mine's just a little tongue-in-cheek. Mark Zahra, you're a superstar, but you're having a rough trot at the moment. And I was on Verdot, so I'm not happy. What's your on-track?
My on-track's Mark Zahra.
Oh, you were on Meridius.
I was on Meridius, and thank God he got it over the line.
What about you?
Underdogs winning on good race days, Michael. Cindy Alderson, Jigsaw, Logan Bates again, Trevor Rogers and his crew winning with Roulette King. You know, great stories. I love it. A good race day.
Mine's another good story. Could have easily been Zach Lloyd, who probably deserved it, but I'm going with Graz Velo. Like, I saw the scenes when he won the Black Opal, up dancing on the stage, and I don't think there's ever been a Canberra horse that had won a Golden Slipper. Halfway up the straight, I thought it was going to happen.
What, we're going to have another dance? Well, we got one anyway. We got the Elam Kent Tango.
Hey, next week it is the Australian Cup. Ollie, if you were going to ride one in the Australian Cup, who would it be?
Birdman for me. He's had the best preparation in the best form.
Yeah, he's low flying, isn't he?
Birdman, absolutely.
Birdman for you as well. All right, there we go. Keep up to date with everything on racing.com. It's a huge week coming and it continues today. It's the Sunday sesh. I'll be back a little later this afternoon. We've got BZ and also Benny Ascari looking at a huge Sunday afternoon. Ollie, enjoy your Sunday. You got kids' sport? Or the Eagles?
No, my sport today, and Eagles to come home
You're
with
taking on
against
Sharky.
Sharks. We're having a slab on that.
The couch grudge match. We've got to stay up till 9 o'clock to watch it.
Is it the Battle of the Spoon? Or
yeah, that's it. Enjoy it, boys. I hope you've enjoyed The Verdict. We've got to speak to all the superstars today. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you soon on The Verdict.